Hey, thanks for checking out the video. So finally, the DioField Chronicle has been released, and I don't know about you, but this has definitely been on my watch list for a while now. It's finally here. I've had a good chance to play. I would say probably about 10 hours so far now. So I wanted to provide a bit of a first experiences or first impressions video for everyone, just in case if you're looking at this game and thinking, is this going to be right for you? So let's talk a bit about the DioField Chronicle. So as per the first impression style of video, I'm going to keep it to a brief discussion of the story, just mostly get into the performance, gameplay, so you have an idea of what to expect if you decide to try this game out. There is also a demo available, so I do recommend checking that out in case if you're a bit on the fence even after watching videos or other reviews of it. Now, the DioField Chronicle is, at least for me, best described as the next Lord of Vermilion, which, if you don't know what that is, it's perfectly fine. It had a very limited release in the West with, I think, one PSP game from 10 years ago. But it's basically a Japanese arcade cabinet that facilitates the use of trading cards with a basic control scheme, of which you just run around a map, knock out enemies, and have a fun time. The DioField Chronicle is all the same. It plays identical to how that arcade cabinet played, which, if I had to describe in, I guess, more simpler terms, it's basically an RTS where you combine certain aspects of an action RPG. You'll be able to control up to 4 units in battle, and these 4 units will rely on your commands, so you'll give them input commands and attack commands. And as they approach particular enemies, they'll engage in auto battle, and you can freely move them by giving them commands to move around, and then, yeah, basically it plays out exactly like an RTS would, as you would imagine it. The key defining feature with this, though, is the use of abilities. Each character and each unit has a particular class that has specific abilities locked to them, and these abilities are absolutely critical for gameplay progress. So if you go into this game just thinking that your auto attacks are going to win the battle, you're not going to have a good time. Just like the Lord of Vermilion game, the key aspect was to always use the special abilities of your summon units, of your characters. Same applies here. You want to make sure that you have good skills equipped, and you're going to be spamming those skills left, right, and center for the entire map to succeed. Now, the nice thing about this, though, and I guess this is sort of the way that they need to integrate those arcadey elements that would be granted before with those trading cards, is that you are given a lot of specialized upgrades and systems. So as you progress through the main story, you'll be able to unlock certain extra functions in your base. These include weaponsmithing to produce new weapons. They include Magitech orbs is the best way I can describe them, which allow you to do special summons, and you can enhance those for more power or special effects. And there's also a very elaborate skill system that combines skill use for classes as well as skill use for individual units. So there's definitely a lot to do in terms of upgrading and just, having a nice customized team to a certain extent. Though I kind of feel like it's more about unlocking their full potential rather than making a very uniquely designed character. With that said, it is, I would say it's a hectic system because it does facilitate a lot of use for moving your characters, making sure in the right position to take advantage of special, ranged and directional effects. It also requires the use of being on top of your skill cooldowns, so you're always spamming those skills to knock out enemies as quick as you can. So it's definitely not a laid-back experience. So just be warned, you will be very actively participating if you play this game. Now, with that gameplay kind of popped out of the way, let's talk a little bit about the story. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but the story, I feel it's to the point, very much to the point, but they have an excellent level of mystique and mystery that they kind of write into it. So even in the first chapter, if you go through the whole demo, you'll probably hit story beats fairly quickly, but they use moderately well-placed time skips to give the impression that things are happening in a logical way. Now, honestly, for me, I think it's really good. It gets kind of dark and gritty at times, and the characters have a lot of mystery to them, so definitely at least appeals to me. I would say that if you enjoy maybe the more darker sides of things like Final Fantasy Tactics, or I would probably say more or less Tactics Ogre, or if you're ever familiar with the Lord of Vermilion storyline to begin with from previous games, yeah, definitely up your alley there. So do give it a check out. I think it's well worth a story that's good. As for performance, this is where things kind of come up, I suppose. Now, it should be known that the guys who made this game is, I think it's Lacrosse, and they are the same ones responsible for making the Caligula Effect 2, as well as Monarch, which are two games I love. I love Monarch so much. But if you checked out my reviews on those games earlier, you would likely know that on the Switch, while they do play extremely well, they do suffer from some visual downgrades to their PS4 or PS5 versions. The same can easily be said here. There's nothing that taxes the Switch too hard of which you're going to have issues during combat, because obviously in a game like this, you need to move quickly. You need to have a smooth and steady gameplay, and that does happen once you're in. However, expect that the visual fidelity of just about all the characters and models will be scaled down. If you line up, especially if you use like the Magic Orb summons, yeah, it does look a little bit too PS2-ish, PS3-ish, which might be a turnoff for some people. So if you're really, really keen on the visual performance, definitely want to check out maybe the PlayStation versions of it if you can have access to it. I do want to point out as well that while I had no issues with any kind of lagging or frame drops during any of my missions, I did notice that in between cutscene loading, so for example, when I have my victory screen and as I'm loading the victory screen into my home base, I did notice that there was some kind of jagged moments, some very janky kind of transitions. It looked like it was stuttering a bit. So I would say that the drops happen as it's loading into new kind of zones or features, but you shouldn't have any problems during the main game itself. So be that as it is, for me, I'm not gonna smite the game too hard for that because it plays well when it needs to play well. But if you are very sensitive to that sort of stuff, then just be warned. Aside from that, the game has excellent audio direction. I really enjoy the music, and I feel like both the Japanese and the English voice actors do an excellent job of portraying the character qualities right to the point. And overall, I mean, I think it's a very enjoyable experience for anyone who really likes a strategy RPG, especially if they are looking for something that's a little bit more, I don't know, best way to put it, cognitively focused. So yeah, if you're looking for something kind of laid back and easy where you can chill with, kind of like triangle strategy, this is probably not the best choice. But if you're looking for an intense, kind of fast-paced, need to keep up with RTS game, this is definitely a game worth checking out, or at least check out the demo. If you know, down in the comments, let me know, and tell me if you've tried out the demo. What do you think? If you bought the game, what do you think? And would you like to see more of these sort of games coming out? Because honestly, the Lord of Vermilion series is a fantastic collaboratory work from Square Enix, and yeah, I would like to actually see more of these kind of games in the future. Anyway, this is Show. Thanks for checking out the video, and I will catch you next time. Cheers!